Hi everyone, this is Tanya from Flying Dog Studio. Thank you so much for joining me as I check out Derwent's Graphitint Paint Pan set. Now, if you've seen a previous video, you know I have checked out their Inktense watercolor pencils and I loved those. So I wanted to check out their Graphitint set to see how that compared. And I've not opened the box, so we're going to get this box opened and then we're going to do a basic swatching of the colors. I am going to have another video that I'll put up later that will show what happens when you mix all of these colors and how they react on paper. But for this one, I thought we would do just a basic swatching to see if it matches up with the little insert, as you can see right there, that they have in the container. So taking a look at their colors, we have autumn brown, russet, meadow, green gray, slate green, my favorite, ocean blue, still blue, dark indigo, aubergine, juniper, port, and then graphite gray, last but not least, that graphite gray. And then you have at the top the little areas where you can mix some color. If you are taking this to paint plein air, if you're traveling with it, you do have a little palette up at the top where you can mix some colors. There is a little perforation right there where you can pull the protective plastic off. And then you'll see that it comes with a water brush. And if you've watched my other videos, you know that I'm very apprehensive about using water brushes. They usually leak, but the Derwent brush and the Inktense pencils did not leak. It was wonderful. So I had high hopes for this one. It was made a bit differently because you have a smaller set here that you're going to be actually putting it in for travel. Now you saw me pull a plug out of the half of it where the water goes in. Save that little plug because that will not fit back into the box. So you can't, and there's the one I got from the Inktense pencils. It's a substantial brush, much larger than that one. They do have the same makeup where the two fit together, so I was hoping that it wouldn't leak, but it will not fit back into that case if you're going to use it for travel. So you're going to have to unscrew it and keep that little plug in it in order for travel. The brush size is the same on these, so kind of interchangeable. I do like that blue one you just saw. As far as the cap fitting on the end, much like the other one, it does not, which is a bummer because I'm the type person that's going to lose that right off if I'm traveling, or I'm going to lay it on my desk and it's going to roll off and my dog's going to get it. So unfortunate. It's sort of like a puzzle. You have to put it back in there the right way or it won't fit. That's that little sponge. Suppose you could use that to maybe wipe your brush. If you're using your water brush, you could probably, I don't know if you get any textures with that or not. I wanted to see if these, they look like they would come out. And I wanted to see if they would come out to offer like more of an area. If you didn't want to take all of them, if you wanted to leave some of the colors at home, if you could have another area to mix paint, you actually can. And those did not rub off on my finger. I was kind of surprised about that. I thought they would rub right off. I guess I was expecting something sort of like pastels that they would rub off on my fingers, but they did not. So we're going to get on with the swatching. I'm going to use the water brush since that came with the set just to really, use the set and see how the whole set works. So I'm going to get it started by squeezing it at the top and making sure it doesn't have any sizing in the brush. Doesn't appear to be leaking, but just in case, I'm going to keep this one on hand. I already have it filled with water. I know that one works well. So I'm going to start off here with the autumn brown, and I want to know how this works wet on dry. I'm using 140-pound cold pressed paper, and I want to see how it's going to spread if we have wet on dry. And the first thing I can tell you about this is, yes, it does spread very well. And I don't know if you can see, all I did was I put some water. This is the first time this pan has received any water. I just squeezed a few drops of water up in that little autumn brown well, and it immediately activated. If you have ever used pan paints, you know that when you squirt the water in it or you missed it, you have to wait a few seconds for it to start to sink in and to activate those paints. You don't have to do that with these. As a matter of fact, you put the water in, and what I noticed as I was doing the larger, which you're not going to see in this video, but the larger paint sheet, is that you have to keep adding the water to it because it soaks it up. It's like they're dry. It's like a desert. It just soaks it up. So I had to keep adding water to it. It's also a few of the colors, and I'll get into that more in the next video, but a few of the colors you have to be careful. You know, if you're using a regular pan watercolor, you put the water in. Once water sets in it for a while, the paint becomes very soft, and you have to be careful not to dig into it. Most of these colors, you don't have to worry about that, but there are a few that if you go straight down with the tip of your brush, not thinking, you can dig down into the colors once it's wet. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know why they would be different, but a few of them were a little bit reactive to the water. So on this particular square, I usually skip. So I would have skipped russet and actually gone over to the meadow next to it so that my colors didn't run together. But I was really excited about doing this and didn't pay attention. So I put those side by side. So we're going to skip meadow and then go over to the green gray in just a minute. But I have started adding water to the paper and then dropping in the color. So we're going to switch from wet on dry to wet on wet. And as it dries, I want you to notice how, you can especially see that on the russet because it has some darker colors in there, that it is actually looking like it has some granulation to it. So I don't know if that's the graphite maybe settling in the valleys on this rough paper, this cold press paper, or if it's just what Graphitint does. I am going to try this on some hot press paper, so we'll have a comparison on that. I'm not going to do that in this video. We'll do that in the upcoming video. But these are very pretty colors. So I'm just going to let this play so you can watch some of the swatching on here, and I'm going to come back throughout the video and talk about some of these colors. Now that some of our initial colors that we laid down have dried, you can tell that much like regular watercolors, they are starting to get lighter as they dry. So I know I'm going to have to come back and add some color to these. Right now I'm working on that aubergine, and if you're American, just say eggplant. That aubergine is a French word that means eggplant. So this to me, and I don't know, put down in the comments what you think about some of these colors. But for me, this color, I don't know what I would have called it, but I don't think I would have called it eggplant, because juniper is coming up right after this, and to me, juniper matches more aubergine than aubergine does. Juniper is not the color I thought it would be. It just, to me, it looked more like eggplant than their eggplant color did. So let me know what you think in the comments. I will come back on aubergine and add some more color at the end, because as I just said, as these are drying, they are getting lighter. Now, there is something you have to be careful of. I did not get all of the color from the previous one cleared out of my brush, so it was wanting to transfer over to that square. So if you're going to use a water brush, it's something you'll have to get in the habit of doing, which I don't normally use water brushes, so I'm not in that habit. But between colors, you do need to kind of squeeze your brush and wipe it a little bit on a rag next to you, as I did just then, so that you don't transfer the colors or mix things in that you don't really want to be mixing together. So this is a really nice color. As you can see, very dark colors. I really am enjoying this set. I think the colors in it would fit very well for a landscape, but I'm actually going to try it for something other than a landscape. And again, that is a video that you will see coming in the next weeks or so. The color I'm working on right now is called Graphite Gray. And since these are graphite colors, I just assumed this might be the darkest color in the set. I don't know why I assumed that, but I just assumed that it would. But it is not. And something you will see when I get out my big video of swatching all of these colors together with their mixes is that when you're using the graphite gray, you really have to use a lot more of that than you do the color you're wanting to layer it with or mix it with, because graphite gray seems insignificant to some of these other colors as far as its intensity. So something to think about as you're planning your palette. So we have swatched the final color on the sheet, and that was Port. Port is a very pretty color. I love that dark burgundy color. Very nice. As far as the water brush, it did great. It did not leak. It kept a nice point, and I thought it did a great job. And there was enough water to last through the entire thing. So I'm looking at the colors and comparing, and they all compare very well with the little swatching sheet that comes with the set. I did, as you know, I said I was going to come back and add some more colors. I'm always very cautious when I'm working with a new set. You can always add to, but it's hard to take away sometimes. So I didn't go as dark on some of these colors as what I would have had I been, familiar with it. But that's good because what we're seeing right now, I'm coming back with wet on dry. We already have color down there. And if you'll notice, it let me add some more of that aubergine, and it did not lift off what was on the paper. So that is awesome. And I'm going to go through here on several of these colors and do that. And again, I still see, even with the colors, once they've dried, it's not quite as obvious as when they were wet, but I do see some granulation in here. So that's kind of cool. I really like that about these colors. And I'm also adding a little bit of extra water as I'm putting the colors down on this dry, the wet on dry. I'm adding a little extra water at the end on the paper, and they're bleeding down very well, and it's not lifting up that color underneath. So overall, I love this set, and I can't wait to use it on an actual piece to see how it goes. If you have any experience with these, please put down some suggestions or your experience with them down in the comments below. If you have any questions, if I can't answer it, maybe somebody else can. So let's be a community that helps each other out as we learn how to use some of these products together. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your being here, and I will see you in the next one.